Welcome to Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Ship, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my life with a son on the spectrum. This podcast is for anyone who is looking for quick tips and perspective, but most of all, for hope and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and let's put the pieces together. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Ship. Thank you so much for joining us today. Last week, we wrapped up our Moms with Mimosas series, so I hope you were able to tune in and check that out. It was a lot of fun and I had a great time. So once again, a big thank you to all the ladies that came on the show to share their perspective with their kiddos on the spectrum. This week, we're going to talk about nurturing social skills in autistic children, mainly strategies for growth. And this has been a really big deal for me lately. Drayson is now 12, entering preteens, and developing social skills with him has been a really vital part for us in our household. And I think it's important that we encourage their growth and help them to interact more comfortably in the world around them. And that's always difficult because I don't want Drayson to necessarily change as a person or be different or feel like he has to fit in this certain mold. But at the same time, I want to be able to cultivate opportunities for him to be able to nurture some of those relationships and develop better social skills. So, while each child's needs and abilities are unique, certain strategies can be universally applied to support social development. And I wanted to explore some effective ways to cultivate that. So I'm going to start off first by just talking a little bit about creating structured social opportunities and how important that is. Children with autism often thrive in structured environments where expectations are clear. And I know I've talked about this on previous episodes where structure is so important with Drayson. Now we're kind of trying to get a little bit away from the structure and more into being spontaneous, but we still have to provide those structured opportunities, if that makes sense. Social skill groups have been something that we've been recently exploring, and that's been fantastic. They're specifically designed to teach children how to interact with others by practicing in a safe and structured setting. And what Drayson tends to do is he will withdraw. So if I try to correct him on something, he says no immediately, withdraws, and then he doesn't want to do it because he feels like he's doing something wrong or he wants to do something perfectly. So when it doesn't execute well, he tends to kind of shut down. So creating a social skill group where it's a safe environment, he feels okay to make mistakes and that he's not going to be judged is highly beneficial for him. We've been looking for groups led by professionals that have experience with autism, specifically one of the agencies that provides a lot of in-home services for us. We've been able to also write goals to try to create more of those social skill groups or go to the clinic and participate in some of those social skill groups. I encourage you very much to talk to your school, to talk to your home care team. Right now with the summer, this is a great time to maybe have some more group play dates. Invite over 3 or 4 different of friends and create maybe a more casual social skill group environment without them even realizing that it's structured. That's something that we're actually aiming to do this summer as well. And with summer being here too, look into camps. A lot of habilitation agencies, speech, OT, some of them, at least here in Arizona, they will put out summer camps that will help with the social skill aspects. So check your local agencies where you're working with them already to see if they have any summer programs available as well. As I mentioned right now, just a minute ago, play dates are really, really important. Start with one-on-one play, where that's something that we have written actually into our one of his home care goals for Drayson. And we start with one-on-one play dates in a very familiar environment with him. And we have the HAB provider or the behavioral specialist, actually help prompt the conversation back and forth. And this can be great with an atypical child. This can be great with another person on the spectrum. But having that structure of that one-on-one play date and getting it on the calendar and they know that it's coming and that it's going to happen actually gives a more of a positive reception, if you will, when they're able to still be able to see their friends, still be able to maybe try to initiate that conversation. And we've chosen a lot of activities that align with both of the child's interests. So shifting from maybe, let's say, Drayson likes Star Wars and this child likes Legos, we've been able to shift interchangeably between the two without Drayson even realizing that we're transitioning him. So if you have a care team that you work with, like I said, you can have them write a goal around this. That's something that we've done in our home. We've been working with the care team recently to have those structured play dates, specifically more over the summer, just because he's off and out of school. And I feel like he's going to do better with those structured play dates right now because he won't feel overwhelmed with school happening at the same time. We also have structured family activities. So engage in regular family activities that require simple social interactions, such as board games or any sort of cooperative project. Make it a daily or weekly thing. Wednesday nights is, game night, family board games, maybe pick some simple ones, but go ahead and enact a very structured activity as a family as well. And what you will start to notice is that when you do go out, for example, like we went to a bowling alley with an arcade and that type of thing. We used that. We transitioned the same Wednesday night from board games to going somewhere else off site. And it actually worked really, really well with Drayson. So start with a structured family event and maybe at home, and then try to see if you can venture out and see how it goes for you. Another quick tip that I want to give you is to model the desirable behavior. And this is so, so important because children learn a great deal through observation. And even though Drayson doesn't seem like he's paying attention, he very much is. In fact, he's acutely aware of probably several more things going on in the room than I am. And so modeling appropriate social behavior is crucial for teaching autistic children how to interact with others. Express your feelings openly. Use clear and simple language to express your own emotions. This teaches your child how to recognize and label their feelings, and use visuals if needed. I know we've talked about that in previous episodes as well, but create visuals if you're trying to communicate maybe how you feel and to give that definition to your child. It can be as simple as showing how you feel over stubbing your toe. And I use this example because the other day I actually hit my toe really hard on the end of the bed frame. And when you hit, you get a paper cut or you stub your toe and then you're trying not to hit your toe again. And of course, it seems to find every hard surface after that. And you keep repeatedly stubbing your toe. Well, I had stubbed my toe a second time. So I was at this point keeled over on the floor. But when I did it the second time, I showed the same reaction, but this time I noticed that Drayson asked if I was okay. So that was really, really defining for me because I was able then to communicate with him, yeah, that just really hurt. And oh my gosh, like I'm getting teary-eyed. I'm just trying not to cry. It hurt so bad. And he just told me it's going to be okay. And then he asked me also if I wanted an ice pack, which I also thought was a huge win. Demonstrate those social interactions, show how to start a conversation, take turns speaking and listening attentively. For example, narrate your thought process during interactions. Like, I'm going to ask how your day was because I care about you and I want to know more about you. Let them know that you're not just asking for the inconvenience. It's not an inconvenience to them, right? When I was growing up, I remember my parents used to joke around because they would say, "How was your day?" And my typical response was, "It was good," or "It was fine." And that tends to be Drayson's typical response as well. But if you explain why you're asking, it gives them an understanding of what you're seeking. And to be able to say, "I want to ask about your day because I love you and I care about you and I want to know more about it," shows an invested interest as well. Social stories are also great for this too. If you're segueing into demonstrating social interactions, we started with social stories and then moved on to demonstrating how to do this in our own home. And so if you're not quite sure maybe how to show that demonstration, social stories are great for the child and for you as well to get that perspective. So when showing them, though, be prepared to prompt them and explain what it is that you're doing to give context to them. That's super, super important. And also practice role playing. Engage in role playing scenarios that your child might encounter, such as asking a friend to play or responding to a greeting. This helps build confidence and rehearse social interactions with them. You can also ask your providers for suggestions with role playing and social stories as well. If you're having a hard time finding them, ask your providers that you're working with to maybe help with some of that structure. They are just as much of a valuable resource to you as they are for your child that's receiving that therapy. My third quick tip is to focus on emotional intelligence, and understanding and managing emotions is crucial. In my opinion, it's a critical component of social skills. This is a really, really big one. I'm very big on emotional intelligence. I think teaching emotional intelligence can help autistic children better understand their own feelings and those of others. And even just personally, autistic or not, I think focusing on emotional intelligence is just really huge. Use visual aids. Pictures and storyboards can help children recognize different emotions in themselves. Tools like emotion cards or social stories can be especially helpful. I know we've spoken, like I said, I've mentioned this several times before, but using spot of feelings chart is very, very helpful. I started with the basic emotions with Drayson, and then we segued into more complex emotions. So what the spot of feelings chart is it'll start off with really general categories like happy or sad, but then there's also other tabs in there that say things like confused or frustration. And it also gives a list of examples of things that they can do when they're feeling that way, which is great if you're trying to help them to find ways to regulate. Teaching coping strategies. Help children develop strategies for managing overwhelming emotions. Techniques might include deep breathing, counting to 10, or using quiet space to calm down. We do breathing and counting to help Drayson. That seems to work really well for him. We also started with social stories with this initially, and then started to demonstrate. And then in the moment when he's experiencing that emotion, trying to prompt him to remember to breathe or count, especially if he's feeling frustrated or angry about something. Or if we've disrupted his routine. Sometimes that's a big one too. We have to tell him to just take a deep breath and maybe count to 5. Encourage empathy. Discuss emotions and perspectives of characters in books or movies. Ask questions like, how do you think that they felt when that happened? Or how do you think they feel? Encourage empathy and understanding, and maybe follow up as to why did they feel that way. Especially when you're watching a cartoon or a movie with them, being able to identify those emotions and why they might feel that way is a really easy way to segue into that conversation with your child. I also encourage you to have empathy as well when your child does express emotion. How did that make you feel? And share the way that it would make you feel if that situation happened to you. I asked Drayson the other day, his last day of school was coming up, and I said, how do you feel? And he said, okay. And I could kind of see it a little bit in his face. I said, do you feel sad? He said, I feel sad. And I said, it's okay to feel a little sad. Do you feel sad because school's ending? And he said, yes. And I said, that's okay, because guess what? You get to go back in a few months. And just letting him know that it's okay to feel maybe a little sad that school's ending, but then also be happy that summer's here. So being able to segue those conversations with him and to identify how he really feels has been a really big milestone for us as a family with him, because quite honestly, 2 years ago, I couldn't even get Drayson to necessarily tell me if he was happy or sad. Or if he felt confused about something. So I definitely see him blossoming in this category. Reinforce positive social interactions. I always say that this is a powerful tool in encouraging desired behaviors. I joke around about the notorious bribe, but it does work. The other thing is just praising. Drayson is now a little bit older, and praising specific behaviors with him has been really beneficial. He's taken very well to it. Instead of general praise, highlight specific actions. I really like how you asked your friend about their day. Or I really like that you said hello, to that person. High fives are a huge favorite for us in our household. So we definitely high five when things happen. And that's been a really big deal. He actually asked somebody the other day in the grocery store, "How are you?" which was a complete and total random thing that happened. And when we got into the car, I said, "That was really nice of you to ask the person behind the counter how they were doing today." Because I always ask when we're at grocery checkout or something, I'll always ask that person, "How are you?" back. And he actually initiated that conversation, which I thought was fantastic. So as soon as we got in the car, I gave him a huge high five, and I told him that that was great and that I was proud of him for doing that, that it was nice that he tried to touch base with that person. Use tangible rewards if that works for you. Some children like stickers or extra playtime can reinforce positive and social reactions. I know for us, screen time that we have with Drayson when he likes to play video games or watch movies, we always use that as a good way to reinforce good behavior. So we started that and have since kind of phased out of more of the tangible rewards and gone more into praise, but that's definitely a good way to start if you're trying to engage them in positive social interactions. And lastly, make sure that you maintain consistency. Consistency is so important because it helps children understand which behaviors are valued and expected. And the more consistent you are about that, the more you model that behavior, the more likely they are to follow suit as well. Nurturing social skills in autistic children requires patience, understanding, and tailored strategies that cater to their unique way of experiencing the world. And that's really something that we have to keep in mind because, again, we tend to think that because they don't react a certain way that they're not paying attention, but they really, really are. By providing structured social opportunities, modeling desired behaviors, focusing on emotional intelligence, and reinforcing positive interactions, parents and caregivers can significantly support the social development of children with autism. Remember, every child's progress will be different. Celebrate the small victories and continue to provide support and encouragement along their social learning journey as they go throughout this process with you. This concludes our episode for today. I hope you were able to find some golden nuggets of information. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have questions, comments, or even a show topic that you would like to hear about, please feel free to send me an email at info@piecesformypuzzle.com. Feel free to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you haven't already, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any updates or upcoming episodes that are coming your way. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. Keep working on your puzzle, and remember, you don't have to have it solved in a day. Take care.